What's up, guys? Mark here with Precision. Today in this video, I'm going to show you something that I've been tossing around for a little while. What to do under the hood of my Cutlass, because you have all this wiring down here in the corner, which I know you can't see what's under the wiper motor, but that's where your wiring center is, and then that goes to the fuse box that's on the inside of the car, and different stuff like that. All of your headlight wires come off and run across the inner fender here. Your battery cable that's just barely long enough, which is fine, and it's just all a mess here. I have a cable here for subs, and there's an opening right underneath the brake booster. I don't remember if that was factory, if I put it there, but it's got a nice rubber grommet, so I want to say it was factory. But I've run some wires through there. Initially, like, I have my electric fans that I could just turn on and off, which I'm going to be changing that system. But then we have these wires, which are factory, coming off of that fuse box, and they run over here. Some go down to your starter and then come back up and go forward to the alternator. You have your distributor wires. You have the plug that comes here for your AC. Trying to think what else is over here. And then there's a main harness that circles back this way and goes inside, so I'm sure that's like your ignition harness and things like that. So I'm doing the EFI swap. I'm also doing the Holley distributor system with the ignition coil, the ignition box and everything, the whole setup, and the fuel pump and everything. So I have the wires run up for that, and I'm going to be running wires across the firewall. So I was thinking to myself, you have that, if you guys still have it, it's a little tube about this wide, kind of steel that bolts to the engine that the wires can go down through, that kind of protects them from touching everything. And I actually have a mini starter I was going to install. So I was going to go down beneath, disconnect the wiring, take the old factory starter off, put the mini starter on, and I laid down underneath the car and I realized with headers there is no way to get that big starter off the car. So I'm going to be changing my transmission and putting in the 4-speed automatic. At that time, when I pull that back off the engine, I'll be able to unbolt and slide the starter out. So for now, I'm just going to leave the factory starter. It works fine. I was just going to go to a mini starter, a little better torque, a little less power use, initial cranking. And I was going to run new wires, a new battery cable down to the starter, up to the battery, along with some grounds and things like that. This factory wiring I was going to leave, but I was going to cut it. Because I don't want it up here. It makes no sense. Even inside that factory black, this garbage, if you can see that, this factory black plastic wire loom with a black firewall, it looks hideous. So I wanted to run it underneath the brake booster, where the brake cable is. And I believe from the factory you have this wire loom right here with this little rubber thing on it that's all corroded. Ugh. Now let's not lose that up there, along with my screw. Hey, there's my screwdriver. So I wanted to, I'm going to put a new one of those wire hooks there because I'm not sure if I'll use it or not, but it'd be nice to have it. At least I have the option. I wanted to figure that out. I'm going to take this hood light off. The wiring for that just unplugs down here, so I'll just leave that down here. We're going to hide this whole little area down here, but that's for a different video. What I'm going to focus on today is showing you guys my ingenious idea of cleaning up these wires. So now when you see all the Gbodies with the neat clean wires under the hood, you know where they got the idea from. These are my gauges. This is my tech wire, and then this is my oil pressure and water temperature gauge. These run inside into my dash. And again, I just ran them up with the factory wiring because I wanted to put it all in the same loom. I didn't want to have wiring all over the place. At the time, it was just where my thought process was. Now my thought processes are changing. So I was looking at these brake lines here, and I know they have a little play. I'm imagining that these coils kind of act like your metal fuel line has a rubber hose that connects to the engine so that there's movement. Well, this is just a metal line connecting to something metal, connecting to the body of the car, connecting to the frame of the car. So I'm thinking these coils here give a little bit of play to allow for flexibility instead of having a rubber adapter, because you wouldn't be able to have a rubber adapter for the hydraulic brake system because it's too high a pressure. So this is the way that they designed this system so that you don't have to have, you know, a rubber hose. These allow play. With that being said, I'm assuming that without taking these off, which I could because I could just bleed the brake system again, I got to do it anyway, but I don't want to do that right now. I'm assuming that without taking these brake lines off, I can just unbolt the master cylinder, pull it forward. You know, this is maybe a 1/2 inch. Not even. It's probably 3/8 of an inch. Same as the, you know, the line going to the battery. Just enough to sneak those wires in between so that I can tuck them underneath the brake booster, tuck them back into this corner, any excess wires that I have. The excess gauge wires I'll just pull inside the car, just enough so that I can get all of this out from up here. It'll come out, which you can't even see it. So I'm gonna show you real fast here. It'll come out just like the power wire, which is the black wire right there. So it'll come out where all that wire is, come across the black wire, and it'll disappear under here. And it'll come up over here. So you won't see any of this coming up and over. Let's reposition this here. I looked for a few videos to see if there was somebody that, you know, said, oh yeah, you can do this, blah, blah, blah. I have never in my life that I can remember, maybe when I was a lot younger, changed a brake booster. So I've never taken one of these off or unbolted it from here before. But I know that when you press the brake pedal, it uses this and pushes forward on this, and this distributes the fluid. So there's no fluid or anything that's gonna leak out. So I know I can take it off. So here's what I'm gonna do. It's 15 millimeter. We're gonna take our 1/2 inch ratchet with our 15 millimeter socket, and I'm gonna get a couple long extensions. We're just gonna come right past here. Bingo. And I'm assuming, yep, it's about that much pressure. I didn't look up torque specs. You guys can look up torque specs. All I'm here to do is give you guys a great way to hide these wires. I will look up torque specs so I can torque that back down if necessary. I don't think it's something that's a torque situation, to be completely honest, but I'm gonna go ahead and just keep you guys here with me. Yeah, I can already see that's got I'll have more than enough movement. I don't want to go too much on one side at a time or the other, just enough. My brake booster here, I have a vacuum pump because my engine doesn't make enough vacuum for power brakes. So I have a vacuum pump all the way on the other side of the engine because there's just not a good place to put it up over here. So I have it on there where my battery's on this side. It'd be nice if my battery was on that side. I'm not doing that right now because then the vacuum pump would just run the line to here. But what I'm gonna do is, because this just swivels, I'm gonna run my brake line, my brake hose line down like this and do the same thing. So everything will tuck down by where this battery cable is. I'll put some mounts on the firewall to hold everything there in line, and it'll kind of tuck along that bottom ridge of the firewall there, behind the distributor, behind most of the stuff, so that you'll never see it, because I'm gonna have the power wire run to the other side for the AC. I'm also gonna have power running over here from the fuel system. I know that runs up into the EFI kit, but the EFI wiring here is gonna come straight back and run over, and then the ground from the fuel pump is gonna run over. So I'm gonna have a few wires running back and forth for the EFI system, not a lot. With that said, it'll all just kind of tuck under there and you'll never see it. Now, why am I going through so much trouble? Everybody knows you have electrical wires on an engine. It's not like it's, you know, this big crazy notion. Well, because for one, I want to clean them up. For two, yeah, this old crusty, rusted, we'll put a new one of those on there. Let's just toss that right in the trash. For two, because I'm getting rid of all the wire in here. It's all going to run inside the fender. I'm going to run new battery cables and things like that. When I change the starter, I will do that. For now, I'm going to splice the cable, which will be fine. And it'll be tucked up in here so that this is all clean. You're gonna look here, you're gonna see your battery. The wires are gonna come this way, go through the fender, and then come back. So you're not gonna see any wiring under here for the most part, except a few of these wires running off the back of the EFI, which I'm going to tuck them all together, and they will run here along with the fuel lines that are here. So it'll be a really nice, clean system. Now, I know this has to come off enough, to come past the bolts, because I know you can change just the brake booster without changing this. So I kind of had a feeling this would have enough flexibility. Now, what is this really going to do for me? I'm going to be able to take all of these cables here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Tuck them down through here without having to cut and splice them. Now, my gauge cables, not a big deal. Can cut and splice them, hide them inside a wire loom. These main power cables, I really didn't want to do that, and I would have, because I would have just soldered them back together and put some heat shrink. But this is taking me 2 minutes to take those 2 bolts off. I can now tuck these under here. My battery cable's under there. There are no more wires up at the top here. I can get a little of that crud out of there. Actually, not a lot of crud on this car, being a Southern car, but I'm not going to worry too much about it because I will change this whole setup at some point. Slip that back on, put my bolts back on, and watch what's going to happen. This, all of a sudden, you have a shift linkage here. If you still have your column shifter, not a floor shifter, you do have a shift linkage here. I still have my column shifter even though I have a floor shifter. I haven't hooked up the floor shifter yet. So you want to be aware that you don't, wrap your wires up here into your floor shifter or into your column shifter, sorry. You're just going to want to bring them over, and I'm actually going to take the wiper motor off. Now that I have a few extra minutes, save some time, I'm going to take the wiper motor off so that I can get these wires really tucked down into that hole. But now look what we're going to do here, right? All of these wires. This is my AC wire. I'm going to cut this stupid terminal off and just splice it together to run it across. I don't need to unplug it for anything. If I do, I have terminals over there. I can unplug it. Kind of understand GM's reasoning behind doing some things. Some of the things I don't understand. But now what I'm going to be able to do is take all this wiring, get it inside a wire loom down here, out of the way. And look at that. You won't see any of this. You won't see any of this. These will all tuck back there. This is all going to tuck up, down under there. These wires here for your wiper motor, I'm going to get all those wrapped in wire loom. That'll all tuck down behind there, and all that wiring mess is gone. The rest of the wires that I have to run across, like I said, I'm going to run them kind of along this line here so it stays at the same level and just comes right across. I got my speedometer cable gone because I have a GPS speedometer. But that will get rid of all of those wires in just a couple minutes by just loosening this up, bringing it forward. I also removed some of these clips that were on the firewall from the factory. I'll clean it up a little bit. I am going to probably paint as best as I can with everything that's in here, mounted in here, just to clean up the firewall a little bit better from the AC box all back here, because I'm going to take this off, so I'll be able to paint a little bit down here and then really run the wires really nice. So that saved me a whole lot of time I'm actually just gonna put the bolts back on the brake booster, or I mean the master cylinder, but I'm not gonna tighten them all the way because I don't know if I'm done yet. It might be easier to be able to, you know, move that back out of the way to feed the wires through a wire loom or something along those lines. The other thing is these headlamps. Like $4. I bought like 4 or 5 of them, and they are just rechargeable. Put a little USB plug in your garage, plug it in when you're done working, use it, plug the next one in. They're fantastic because everywhere you look, you have light shining right where you need it. I have a nice bright light up over my hood there, which gives everything light, but I can't see this bolt without my headlamp. And it's adjustable. I know they have some of those ones you can wave in front of, and they're $30, $40. These were like $4 or $5 a piece. I've been working in the garage, laying underneath the car for 5-6 hours, and they hold a charge, and you just plug them in and let them recharge. So that's a great, another great tip for you guys. But this way, all my wires are now hidden. Once I get them neatly inside some wire loom, I just saved myself probably 3 hours of splicing wiring together, because I'm really critical about it, because I want to make sure that it's either soldered or I have really good, I use these butt connectors that are metal, and I have special crimpers to make sure that they're like factory style, crimped together if they're not soldered, just to make sure that I don't have any problems with anything. So with that being said, that's it for this video. Real quick and easy way to clean up your wiring in your Gbody. Even if you're just from the factory, you want to leave it inside the wire loom and pop it off up here, tuck it down under there. It's going to make your engine bay look so much nicer. 15mm socket, long extension on your 1/2 inch or your 3/8 ratchet. You can get it off with the 3/8 and a little muscle, and you're good to go. All right, guys, thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next video.